The most important hours that you're going to be working in this business from this point forward are going to be the hours that you don't see. That's when we work on the business. That's when you work on yourself. That's when we gather together as a team and we train. That's when we develop. That's when we get better so that we can serve the people that we've been entrusted to serve and do a better job.
Hello and welcome to the Remarkable CEO Podcast, a show dedicated to chiropractors who want to transform their job into a business, so that they can have a remarkable practice as part of a remarkable life, not instead of one. With your hosts, Dr. Pete Camiolo and Dr. Stephen Franson.
At Genesis, we help successful chiropractors implement spinal decompression with a fully turnkey system that handles everything from marketing and new patient generation to systems, protocols, and ongoing support. The result? Massive value for your practice and life-changing outcomes for your patients, all without drugs or surgery. This is the next evolution in chiropractic care. Welcome to Genesis.
What's up, Remarkables? Welcome back to another episode of the Remarkable CEO Podcast, chiropractic's #1 business podcast. I'm Dr. Stephen Franson.
And I'm Dr. Pete Camiolo.
Hey, lucky you. You caught us here in the middle of a conversation about one of our favorite topics, one of the highest points of leverage in your business, and why remarkable CEOs are fully committed to training themselves, training their teams, training their people. It's all about training, equipping, and developing your people, and how that is the greatest return on investment of your time, energy, focus, and money. Dr. Pete, I'm stoked for today's conversation.
Yeah, it's one of our hallmarks of the Remarkable Practice and the Remarkable CEO program is that we have established a culture of training. If you've been to our live events, which we recently had, and it's all about training. Where they're training events and immersive experiences, a training experience, and training means role playing. And so we're going to talk today, Dr. Stephen, about your role as the CEO in the training culture. Training is role playing, but you have a role that you play as a CEO. And I want to emphasize that. And this is coming right out of meeting with dozens of CEOs, just even in the last 2 weeks, about this very specific topic. And so we're gonna dig into that today. And I hope this really lands for everybody, because I know I'm speaking to everybody. We're not just talking to a couple people. Go ahead.
So both of us have been out in the wild.
Yes, exactly.
We've been out in the wild. We've been doing the road show. This is the time of year. It seems like everybody in the world has their seminars, including ours, inside of the same 2-4 month pockets, right? So here we are in the throes of the fall pocket of road tripping. And I just got back. I just had the privilege to speak at Mile High. And then I did Palm Rise event out in Vancouver, the Lux event. I got my Lux shirt on. Thank you, Dr. Prime. What a great group that is. Both of them, great groups, just on purpose chiropractors, mission driven, and everybody just full of it. I just love how everybody is just eager to serve, eager to learn, right? So, and eager to train. Dr. Pete, this is great environments. Couple that with the Remarkable Practice immersion that we just had in Phoenix. We've got one going on in Australia, basically as we speak, depending on when you're listening to this. Then we'll be on to New Zealand. I know I'm off to London to do a 1-day intensive for London, which is going to be an awesome, first time we've done anything in London. I'm stoked for that. And then I'll be back to Atlanta for the Remarkable CEO Summit, which is our advanced training for our advanced Remarkable CEO clients, right? So stoked, man. It's going to be awesome to be out in the wild, out and amongst all of the awesome world-class on-purpose chiropractors.
Doc, it's great. It's great to see you out and about, and for us to be out and about and have an opportunity to join you in Atlanta in a few weeks. And I'm going to be in Knoxville this week. So got a couple great chiropractic events that I get to be a part of. And, being out and about and with each other is such a key to our success. And so chiropractors, as you're listening, make sure you're getting out and getting out to events. It's amazing what you can consume through YouTube and podcasts and all of that. I love that. And we are consumers of all of that ourselves, Dr. Stephen, but there's something about getting out and about. And we all kind of went through COVID. So we know what that felt like when the world shut down and we weren't able to meet together in person, what that felt like. And I still remember back to our first event that we were able to do and meet, and we could only have 30 people. We had to be 6 feet apart, the whole thing, remember? back in 2020 in the fall. And I remember when we did that, we're like, we need to do this. We need to get back on track here in 2021. Like, we can't let this happen anymore. This was too good. We enjoyed the ability to run our events virtually, but man, getting back in person, and we're seeing that obviously still to this day. Those events you just named, so much great energy coming out of all those events. Everybody I've talked to, our own events and the events that we've got coming out. I'm just so excited to gather all of us together. So, and what the theme of those events is, so many of them, Dr. Stephen, is it's really centered around when you get out of your four walls of your office, even when you get out of your town and you get into these environments together, it's really about developing yourself. And that's what training is about. Training is about creating a culture of constant, never-ending improvement. Yep. And, Dr. Stephen, a couple of things that I wanted to just share as we kick this off is, and I'm going to start here because I think it's an important place to start, which is we say that, we see our patients between the trainings, right? But I want to tell you, how does this apply very practically? So this is how I teach this, which is when you're interviewing and you're interviewing to hire a new team member, whether it's a doctor or a chiropractic assistant role, you need to make sure that the hours that you review of what their work hours are going to be, you start with the hours for team meetings and team trainings, then go to the hours that are on the door, which are when we see patients. So think about this for a minute. Imagine you're bringing somebody on your team and you start with the most important hours that you're going to be working are going to be these hours that you're probably not aware of, because when you looked at the website, the hours you saw and maybe what you saw on the door when you walked into this interview today or whatever are not the hours that you're going to really need to focus in on. The most important hours that you're going to be working in this business from this point forward are going to be the hours that you don't see. That's when we work on the business. That's when you work on yourself. That's when we gather together as a team and we train. That's when we develop. That's when we get better so that we can serve the people that we've been entrusted to serve and do a better job. That's right. And so I've just been planting that seed. When you're interviewing, make sure you're crystal clear. We talk about being clear on what are the KPIs that they might own in their position, clearly defined role with clear responsibilities and clear accountabilities and having all that. That's so key. And that's another ingredient that must be there. But even before that is time, right? Because the four resources, time, energy, and focus, and money, the time, energy, and focus is what they're giving you. Help them understand how their time is going to be spent, where their focus is going to be, that we're actually creating a culture by bringing that to the forefront. So for any future hire, for everybody you've already hired, it's too late to do that now. But you present it that way, it's a game changer. Now they know they're entering a training environment that sees patients between the trainings and the meetings. Right. So Dr. Stephen, I just wanted to say that because we say we see our patients between trainings, but how does that become very practical? What does that look like at the end of the day? Because some people think trainings are like extra. We do that after hours. We do that between shifts. Like during my lunch break, we kind of 1 or 2 days of the week, we just do this extra thing. We kind of have to do it because we work there. Versus we train, and then in between the trainings and the meetings that we do, which are critical, we see patients.
Yep.
It's a different thing.
I love the expression, the way you do anything is the way you do everything. It's always one of my favorite quotes, right? So let me ask you, like when you're setting up your personal, let's say I love Google Calendar. Okay. So I live and die by my Google Calendar, right? So at the end of the day, that is my territory, right? So God gives us territory. That's my dominion, is my calendar. I put it up on my screen. I'm looking at my territory and I'm claiming territory, right? So I'm not one to get into time management. I get into focus mastery, which is I'm going to time block in such a way where it's like, that's what I'm focused on right now. So when I'm claiming territory and I'm creating my framework for how I'm going to walk my life out, I'm putting in church on Sunday. Sunday's the Sabbath. This is where our coffee break is. Here is date night with Camilla. These are our family dinners. These are my workouts. This is when I adjust my family. This is when we go on vacation. Say yes if you know what I mean by this, Pete. This is like literally just putting in the boulders, as Covey taught us. Is like that goes in first, right? So you putting that framework in first. Then I start layering in, okay, so this is when I have my meeting times. This is when I have my training times. This is when I have my client times, sales calls, like everything else, fill in the blank. This is when I'm in the studio. This is when I'm traveling for a seminar. Like I start filling in the blanks after that, right? So same thing when you're setting up your practice schedule. It's just like we are here. This is the business's schedule. And inside of the business schedule, we start with, this is when we have our team meetings. This is when we have our individual meetings. This is when we have our same page meeting and our marketing meeting. This is when we have our team training. So we have our CA trainings, our doctor's trainings, and our team trainings, right? So we put those in, and then we fill in our clinic hours. So these are our patient hours. So these are the hours of operation of this business. And then there's meeting times, there's marketing times, there's training times, and there's patient times, right? So we have study time. Like this is when we train. This is when we have downtime, which is when we do our paperwork, et cetera. Like it's all blocked. It's not like, oh, wow, this job's great. We're only here all day, Monday, all day, Thursday, Tuesday morning, and Wednesday night. It's like, no, bro, that's when we see patients. That's the patient facing schedule. We're here. This is when we're here. We're here Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday. It's just that we have different assignments, right? Mm-hmm. So that's how you should be looking at your calendar and setting this framework out. So first and foremost, that might be an upgrade right there for you guys for 2026 is like, oh my gosh, I got to put it on the calendar. It's like you don't just make up your patient hours, right? Like you're not like, oh yeah, we'll see if we can squeeze that person in there. Like let's if we have time, we'll start adjusting people here. It's like, that's how people deal with training. Oh, we'll try to squeeze in a training here. And if we have time, and they trespass all over it, they totally dishonor that time. It's like, no, that is sacred ground. Yeah. Right. That's sacred territory on that schedule. And you have to start by claiming that territory, saying to the team, this is what we're focusing on here. That's a non-negotiable, and we do not trespass there. We are claiming that territory. It's law of dominion, right? So God's going to bless you categorically when you demonstrate the capacity to manage well the things that he's given you already. You're like, are you demonstrating the capacity? Are you ready to grow, serve more people, make a bigger impact, make a bigger income? Let me see you demonstrate the capacity to manage well the time he's already given you. Like, are you meeting and training so your business is ready to grow, increasing your capacity to serve? Dr. Pete, training is one of the most important elements that goes on the calendar first, not last.
I love it. I already know that everybody needed that and is a huge takeaway. Use your EHR just like you do use your Google Calendar and put into the EHR a big old yellow, whatever color block, and govern that thing, protect it with your life. Don't allow that lunch and learn to, encroach on that. Don't allow whatever to come. No, that is a non-negotiable. You've got to protect it with your life. Your team, your manager needs to govern that schedule and make sure everybody's crystal clear. So make it visible, right? If it's not written down, it doesn't exist, and make it visible, make it clear from the E&A perspective of when hiring to onboarding, developing, training, equipping your people, and then keep it on the forefront so everybody sees it every day. It's on the schedule. There's no guessing. And that's just what we got to do. I'm just telling you. So that's the first thing, Dr. Stevens, so powerful. I'm so glad you said that. Second thing that I wanted to talk about in regards to this was there's two levels of training. Okay. There's level one is onboarding. Level two is ongoing. Okay. So level one training is onboarding, and that's 90 days. And that is what we call developing core competency. There's 4 levels of development that I've experienced with training doctors and staff for the better part of 2 decades. There's familiarity is level 1. Level 2 is competency. Level 3 is proficiency. Level 4 is mastery. There's 4 levels of development, and every one of your staff and everybody on your team is in one of those 4. The first 2 weeks somebody comes on board, they're what we call familiar. They're just becoming familiar, knowing how to drive to the office, where to park, where to go to the bathroom, where to fill up their water, what the names of the patients are, what is the word subluxation, right? Like just starting to go through the patient experience, learning by observation. Okay. First 2 weeks, it's a lot of observation because that's the first way we learn is observation. So you got to see it, you got to feel it, you got to learn, you got to start to shake people's hands, get to know people, get to know the computer, start to look. You're not really going to be a major contributor. But then during that time, you're starting to study, you're starting to learn, you're starting to develop. And then eventually you start getting tested. That's where competency comes in. When you start testing. When you start testing somebody, now they can either say, I do or don't know the answer. That's testing. That's competency. And we have a period of time blocked for that, and it's called onboarding. Onboarding is a grace period. It's a probation period in time with the goal of people testing out of a level 1 level of development, which is competency. That's why I said there's 2 levels, level 1, level 2. Inside of level 1, you have familiarity and competency. Level 2, which happens after you've completed your core competencies, now you are entrusted with accountability, and we organize that in your scorecard. You're not entitled to one of those, right? There's a difference between entitlement and having a title. There's a difference in being empowered and entrusted, right? So understanding these terms is really important. You are entrusting someone with a scorecard with KPIs, with outcomes that now they are accountable to the entire team. And that's something that you earn, right? It's entrusted to you. You're not entitled to it just because you have a check out or check in or back office or doctor title as part of your job description. So The competency stage is a really important stage, and we need to make sure we harness it. But here's where I think a lot of doctors go wrong, even CEOs, Dr. Stephen. Once they go through onboarding and competency and they've tested out, and they're given their, let's say, scorecard, or they're entrusted with their role, we do this. And we're like, we're good. And we're hands off. And now we're just playing problem whack-a-mole with the trainings from this point out, because we're just like, when things go wrong, we'll handle that. But we don't organize the trainings. They're not pre-scheduled out. They're not organized, and they're not data-driven, and we're not driving a higher level of learning. What I've experienced, and you know this too, Dr. Stephen, we share this all the time, is that B and C players will tolerate that environment all day long.
Yep.
But A players won't. So if you want to grow to the next level, which means you're going to need to surround yourself with people that are strong where you're weak, people that have a genius that needs to be exposed and leveraged, putting people in a zone of genius where they're able to make a bigger impact, and as a result of that, have an impact on the business. That's an A player. And A players demand two things. Number one, to be trained. Number two, accountability. They want those two things, in addition to having a clearly defined role and some goals that they can hit and grow. So growth and development is really an ongoing process, right? So the second level of training is ongoing. And that's where we develop proficiency, and then eventually, for some, mastery. Mastery is a term I very rarely give. It's a pin that you might get on your shirt, but it takes a while to get to a level of mastery. That's when you become the trainer. And even then, you realize when you're doing that you have a long way to go and a lot to learn, right? So you ask any master, if they reach mastery, they'll probably tell you, I got a long way to go. I've got a lot of improvements to make. But this comes from the CEO. That's why I wanted to make sure I hit on this. If the CEO takes his or her finger off that pulse, if the CEO takes his finger off holding that line for the company, it doesn't mean you're accountable to being in
running training or
running every training. No, I'm not even saying that, Dr. Stephen. And I know you're going to chime in on that, but I'm saying you are accountable as a CEO to make sure that that's happening, to create a culture, and then equipping the leaders. If you have other people helping train, like for example, we have a clinic director mastermind inside of the Remarkable Practice. These are associate doctors who are leaders who help train other associates inside that enterprise organization. They are doctors who are associates that work with and underneath an owner who are accountable to help training, developing, equipping the other doctors and sometimes the CAs from a clinical function. That is leverage. That's how a CEO uses leverage to build and grow their business. So I'm not, Dr. Stephen, just saying, hey, I'm trying to add another thing to you as a CEO. I'm actually reminding you of your role as the visionary and the person who determines what's important now, next, and ultimately, and leading the team to make sure that this is something that we don't take our eyes off of. Because, Dr. Stephen, you'll do the little math equation for everybody, because it is the highest and best use of your time. The ROI on it is a multiplication effect. And anyway, so Dr. Stephen, I think this for us CEOs is so important to remember this.
So let me sift through some of the gold that you were just laying down there, right? So mastery, like anybody that you would associate to mastery, whether we're talking about somebody in golf or playing a guitar or a sushi chef, it's like, you know what mastery looks like and sounds like, right? So this sounds cliche to say it, but I have to say it. Can you imagine them not going to the driving range and hitting 100 bucket of balls or putting 100? Like, just, it sounds silly at this point, right? So do you think Jordan was on the free throw line just draining 100 free throws before he thought practice was over, right? So it's like, is the master strumming the guitar, just going through their courts? Is that sushi chef to become a chef? Exactly how many passes with that blade do you think they made before that? It's like this is, guys, training and mastery go hand in hand, right? Like if you're going to be a master, this goes hand in hand. It's just table stakes. It's not, you can't imagine anybody outside of what we're talking about, which is the business of saving lives, calling themselves a master and not spending 90% of their time practicing and training and preparing for execution, right? So it's just like, that's literally the breakdown. It's 90-10. It's not 80-20. It's not 50-50. So it's literally 90 preparation and practice and training, 10% executing and performing, right? So you know it, you own it. Are you doing it, right? So number 2, Dr. Pete, if I told you, if you put $1 in, I'm going to give you $120 back. How many times would you do it?
As many times as possible.
Right? Like I would be borrowing and stealing money to push it into that machine, right? So time is money, baby, right? So it's like we think about, oh, if I put $1 in, $120 come back, that's great. Okay. What I like, if I put an hour into something and I get 120 hours back, that's what I'm talking about, right? So that 1 hour I spend training, let's say, for example, whether I'm training associate doctors in my clinic, 3 associate doctors who are going to work 40 hours a week. I spend 1 hour training them. 3 times 40 is 120. I get 120 hours of elevated execution back from those doctors. I get elevated performance, productivity, and profitability out of that 1 hour I put in. I get 120 hours back from those 3 docs, right? Do you see it? That's called leverage. So if you don't see it, you're not paying attention. Okay. So we're inviting you to pick your head up. Okay. Get out of the quagmire of the day-to-day and start thinking like a CEO and look and be able to say, oh, I'm done with the brute force thing. I'm running and growing my business on brute force. I want to find sources of leverage. We're giving you the best one. The best use of your time, energy, focus, and money is training and developing yourself and your team. Right. So spend that 1 hour, get 120 hours back. Dr. Pete, if there was a time machine where you could push an hour in and get 120 hours back, you would do it, right? You do. You have it. It's called training and developing your people.
So Dr. Stephen, I think about the 2 things you said. One is training and developing yourself, and then training and developing your people. I think, we have to remember this, that, what a leader does is a leader goes out ahead, right? And so you putting yourself in an environment where you're continuing to be trained and developed is really important. One of the things I love, and this actually, some of this stimulation came out of my, some being in the mastermind environment with CEOs and recognizing as we were actually breaking down the Rubik's Cube and we were identifying like of the 6 sides, like which area you challenged with, you have vision, leadership, systems, team, training, and energy. And the one that really stood out was training as like, this tends to be an Achilles heel for me. Like I lost my edge there. I struggle with keeping the fire burning there. And it was just a brutally honest, frank conversation. It was really good to have because then we recognize like, hey, if you're not aware of it and then you can't speak to it, then you can't get the support and help you need to be able to solve that. And so very solvable. And I was thrilled that we could go there, but I was also concerned that it was just a narrative I kept hearing a lot. And so I recognized that as CEOs, as you scale, it's easy to take your eye off the most important things because your head is maybe in a owner and then investor role and you're more here and you're expanding and you take your eyes off the fundamentals that actually drive the operation and really drive enterprise value long-term, which is the continuous training of your people, development, and the deliverable of the product and the services that drive revenue and value for the organization and for the people. So I wanted to just make sure that we said that because as CEOs, as we go into this next year, and everything that right now, Dr. Stephen, you and I are probably thinking about is as we continue, because we're in 4th quarter, so we're already planning out the next year, is to re-engage and reinsert yourself into the training culture and the training role, potentially training function, and recognizing the value that you bring is so unique and the multiplication. Think about that, 40 for every 1 hour, 40 hours back. I mean, that is just, if that didn't kind of wreck your brain, like that's just amazing. What a gift, what an opportunity. So one of the things that I love, 3 things I want to say. Number 1, we've created a curriculum to make it easy for you to know exactly what to train on. Most docs are like, I love this. I love to train. I'm just running out of ideas or what to do. We've created a curriculum for you. Follow the curriculum. Don't reinvent the wheel. Don't veer to the left or to the right. Stay the course. It works. We work with doctors every week and I follow a curriculum and it's so effective. It works year after year. It's worked through COVID, worked pre-COVID, post-COVID. It worked with, who was the president before Trump? I don't even remember. It doesn't matter who's the president, what the economy is like. It works. Training works. And so number 1 is follow a curriculum. Number 2 is you don't have to do this alone. So you can actually have your doctors trained by a professional coach who's going to help train them for you or with you, I should say. I always tell the CEOs, like, you're the head coach, we're your assistant, but we'll train them, but you got to make sure you follow up and follow through. So leverage us, right? Take advantage of that using leverage. Like we've provided inside of our organization an opportunity. It's a no-brainer for a CEO to upgrade to get their doctors trained. Like, why wouldn't you do that? It doesn't make any sense to me that you wouldn't have them in a perpetual environment where they're going to be trained from an outside third party pouring in objectively detached, but just driving value to drive better outcomes. Like it's a no-brainer to me. So that's number 1. Number 2, and number 3 is making sure you yourself are in a training environment. Coaching, another way to describe coaching is training. You need to be putting yourself in an environment where you're regularly being challenged to grow and develop and expand your mind, your thinking, your behaviors, which is going to drive better outcomes. And that will translate directly to the people you've been called to lead and serve. And that'll directly drive the outcomes you're looking to create in your business. If that's something you want and you desire, I'll tell you something right now. We got the answers for you. We can help you with that. Dr. Stephen, I'll turn it over to you, and I know you'll put a bow on it, but I just know going into this next year, we've got to embrace training culturally as an organization. We're going to take it to the next level. And I believe that everyone who's listening needs that as well.
So I want to tee these guys up for success. It is a new year. So I heard you say we have a training curriculum. I was also thinking competency checklist. Let's give one of those away. Like, what makes more sense? Is it the competency? Like, we can pick like competency checklist for an associate doctor, for example, because I think that makes most sense, right? So most of the CEOs listening in this conversation right now is like, how do I train my doctors? Like, we have a 26-week competence or training curriculum or competency checklist, right? So I should say it's the 90-day competency checklist. I'm mixing my metaphors there. So the first 90 days, this is the competency checklist for an associate doctor. Let's give that PDF away. We'll put a link in the show notes there. If you want to connect with us and talk through this and help get a sense of like, well, how do you do this? And where are the resources and how do you execute a training? What's great training look like? What are the best practices? We're very happy to jump on a call with you and talk through that. So don't hesitate. We'll put a link in the show notes down below. And just understand this, guys, as CEOs, we're always looking for leverage, right? Highest point of leverage, training and equipping and developing a team, highest and best ROI, return on the investment of your time, energy, focus, and money. Maybe that's the one thing that you commit to in 2026 that would mean everything.
Please stick around for more business insights from this week's bonus interview with our remarkable success partner dedicated to helping you more successfully help more people. Enjoy.
Dr. Kendall, it is awesome to have you. I'm so excited. It's an honor to have you on our CEO podcast. We have an amazing CEO audience here with us today, and some of them may know who you are, and some of them might not know who you are. So I was hoping that you could maybe just take a moment, introduce yourself, help us to get to know the expert in the room a little bit. Tell us your story of your business, Elevate Marketing.
Yeah.
Some folks in the audience will have familiarity with Elevate and others might not. So let's talk about what's led us to be sitting here together today.
Yeah. Well, first of all, thank you for having me, Dr. Kale. I'm super excited to be here to be able to drop some wisdom, hopefully, and be able to help docs grow, help them scale their practices. You know, I'm just like everybody that's probably out there listening, right? I am a chiropractor, subluxation based practice, and we're rocking and rolling in the Chicagoland area. And I think that the sort of genesis of where I came from, and, I was in practice and we had grown our practice to $1 million practice. Right. And so I know that there's a ton of people out there that they want to do that same thing. And I learned right from trial and error what worked and what didn't. But what I realized was that marketing and bringing new patients in the door was one of the most important things that most practices struggle with. And it was something that, honestly, for me, it became something that was kind of easy because I developed the skills, but not just the skills, but the mindset to be able to do that as well. And Elevate really spawned from, if I'm honest, it was a very selfish desire for myself. I was right next door to a gym, and the guy who was running the gym, we became friends, and he was telling me about the marketing that he was doing for his gyms, because he owned 3 at the time. And he was telling me about this guy, Alex Hermosi. And he was working with Alex Hermosi, for those of you guys who don't know, massive in the social media marketing world.
Yep.
And he was learning all of these principles and concepts. And so what we did, and through having dinner conversation, I'm like, well, why don't you run ads for me? I'll pay you to do it. And so I had one-on-one with him to be able to go next door and whiteboard out ideas and talk about the things and we built a system, if I'm honest, that was really designed around my practice. Very selfish, but we started getting good results. We're getting great results. And I'm like 6-to-1, 8-to-1, 10-to-1, 12-to-1 returns. And I'm like, dude, I got to tell everybody about you. So I started.
Those are good numbers.
Yeah. So I started referring people in the doors, and Elevate was born from that. And so along that path, I worked in a kind of behind the scenes role, helping chiropractors to understand mindset shift, to be able to have conversations with them, to be able to say, like, look, if you do these things, this is what gets you the best results. If you don't do these things, you're not going to get the sort of results that you're expecting. And I think that's really where Elevate has come from. And I don't know when this will air, but we have actually just been named to the Inc. 5000 list for this year. So
awesome. You're on the grow.
Yes. That's a very, very exciting piece of news. And it just goes to show that we're growing as a company, but marketing is really ever evolving. And that's the thing that I think is so unique. But the thing that I love about what I do is I get to speak into practices and into their four walls about what to do, how to navigate the problems and things that they see, and be able to come shoulder to shoulder with them and say, look, I am a chiropractor. I understand what's happening in your practice. Here's the levers, here's the dials that we can pull to be able to make a change.
Awesome. You've addressed a little bit of the question I'm about to ask, but I think there's maybe a bit of room for it. Most of our watchers or listeners are going to be familiar to some degree or another with marketing in the chiropractic space and social media marketing. I'm just curious about what you're doing at Elevate that maybe sets you apart a little bit from what other chiropractic marketing companies are doing.
Man, that's a great question. And I think it's a great question because there's so much out there, right? And it's like, what is working, what is not? And I think that because the market is evolving, right? I mean, it's July of 2025 and the market is tough. The economy is tough for a lot of chiropractors. And I'm seeing this across the hundreds of clients that we have, that things are tough for a lot of practices out there, but there are things that you can do that really help. And I think that the approach that we take is what really separates us from a lot of the competition, in that we're trying to understand your local market, because gone are the days of everyone just saying, spend $1,500 in ad spend and you're going to get 100 leads. That doesn't happen anymore. You have to be much more focused and intentional around how you are building your funnels, right? So the ad is the top, right? The ad is what gets somebody to stop the scroll. But what happens after that? What are the emails? What are the text messages? What does the follow-up cadence? What are those things doing to drive people into your doors? And so we help our clients to, number one, we've built systems that work for that, but then helping them to be able to tell their story through their marketing message, because the reality is 30 new patients on your calendar and only having 5 of them show is a much worse situation than having 20 on your calendar and 18 of them show. Yeah. And so it's being able to pull those levers, move those dials to be able to help practices do that. And I think one of the really cool things that we're seeing, especially in the AI space, is that the ability to reach out to leads, whether it be through text messages, and we've actually developed a voice AI that actually reaches out to leads and will get them scheduled into your calendar, to where it really removes that barrier. Because right now, one of the things we're seeing that's more important than it's ever been is speed to lead. And if you're not reaching out to those new patients that are scheduling within 5 minutes, in a lot of cases, you're losing them. And what adds to that is the fact that the majority of people who opt into a funnel are people who are not, they're sitting on their couch and they're scrolling at night. And so that's not when your practice, that's not when your team is able to respond. And so we're looking at the problems that we see and then creating solutions for those problems.
Yeah, that's awesome. That's a lot of the pain points that I hear, when I talk to my clients, and certainly in my own practice too. So, as you know, Doc, most CEOs, well, hopefully all CEOs make business decisions. So they always want to know they're getting a good ROI, a good return on their investment. So could you speak into that for your clients with Elevate, like what our folks might expect to experience?
Yeah. So, I mean, obviously across the nation, across the world, ROI is going to vary, right? I mean, we've got clients who are doing 10, 15, 12x, right? And we've got clients who are doing 2, 3x, right? We guarantee that all of our clients see at least a 2-to-1 return. Our average is somewhere between 4 and 5x. Awesome. Simply based on the numbers that, having looked at the data across the past couple of years, that's what we're consistently seeing with our clients.
Sorry, what do you think? I've seen this happening in the digital space where one system in a particular environment gets a 4-to-1 return, and the same system in another environment gets a 20-to-1 return. What is the thing that's driving that?
So, couple of things, right? So the number one that we can't control is market variability, right? Let's give the example. If you chose to live in Denver, Colorado, Denver is an amazing place to live, but a lot of people have moved there because it's an amazing place to live. If you're in Little Rock, Arkansas, right? Maybe your family's there, maybe, your significant others, whatever it may be. Not as many people are looking to move there. So you might get better results just from a numbers-based perspective there than in, say, Denver. Yeah. But one of the things that we can control, that we can do something about, is the creative that we put out. Because the way that Facebook's algorithm is now working is there's two things that are going to drive results. It's your creative, meaning your images, your videos, and your ad copy. And so those are things that we can tweak, modify, and play with to be able to get best results. Now, one of the things that I see from most doctors is that it's the creative, the videos, the images, the things that they send, they aren't up to snuff, right? They're not producing good enough content that's actually going to get people to stop their scroll. And so that's something that we do with our clients is we'll actually write the scripting and give it to you and say, this is the ad that you need to do. Go do it. Lots of energy, make it spicy. That's how we need to create content that is going to get people to stop scrolling and then be able to start building trust through the funnel, because we are in a trust recession right now. And if you want to be the person that someone comes to and trusts, especially with a Facebook or Instagram ad, you got to get them to stop scrolling. But then with all of the content and the things that you're putting out, that's where you need to build trust for them, that they know that they're making a good decision. And that leads to better show rates. That leads to a lower cost per show. And that is what is going to drive the results ultimately in your practice as far as what happens day 1, day 2, day 3.
Got it. Love that. You've kind of talked about this already, Doc, but I'm curious about your vision for the future. When you look at the challenges that are coming for the chiropractic profession going into the next year, 2 years, 3 years, what do you see? What are the challenges? What do you assess our needs are? How are you and Elevate sort of preparing for that?
Yeah. So, I think that there's a lot of things that are happening in the world right now. From the trust perspective, I think that that's a big one. That's one of the things that not a lot of people are talking about. And if you are going to be marketing online and you are going to be doing marketing online, especially digitally, Facebook, Google ads, whatever, and that's where a good portion of your new patients come from, content is going to continue to be king. Making sure that you're producing good content that is actually going to help. So a couple things that in addition that are really happening is Instagram just came out actually on Sunday, so July 10th, 2025, where Instagram is now Google is going to be pulling content from Instagram. And so there's actually a way where if you put a image up of you adjusting someone on your tables, that you can go into the alt text of that creative and actually be able to put in what that is. So Google will start pulling and extracting that information from Instagram through the powers of AI and the things that they do to be able to put that content in front of people. The other thing that I would tell you that we're seeing a lot of is something called GEO. So everybody has heard of SEO. Yes, but it's generative engine optimizations. And I'm kind of on the techie side of things, but a lot of people are getting to the point where they are searching for things on ChatGPT, on Claude, on these engines. And so those are the things that we are seeing. And so if you are not working with a company who's doing things to optimize your website, to actually pull in that data to where ChatGPT is pulling good content, you're going to start falling behind even in the SEO game. And so those are all of the moves and things that we're moving towards as a company. And we've already started implementing with practices that we work with to make sure that they're ahead of the curve as far as where their practice stands out in their community.
Awesome. That's cool. That's awesome. Listen, Dr. Kendall, you shared some, I think, incredible pearls with us already today in just these few minutes. So thank you for that. I want to make sure that our listeners can get in touch with you if they want to after they've heard what you've had to say. I'm confident there's going to be a lot of folks wanting to reach out. So how do they get you? How do they reach you?
Yeah, so there's going to be a couple ways. So number one is just goelevatemarketing.com. So again, goelevatemarketing.com. That's the best way to get in reach with me, but you can always also reach out to me via cell, right? I have all of my clients have my cell phone number, so that way we can be able to, workshop through anything that they have going on. And
Cool.
that's 618-406-5285, or you can email me at drkendall@goelevatemarketing.com.
And we'll drop it on the call too. So that's cool.
Awesome.
Doc, is there anything else you want our audience to know about Elevate?
I think the only thing that I want people to know is that we've been in your shoes. We understand what it's like to run a practice, how busy a practice can be, how exhausting it can be to go from room to room where someone's really high and someone's really, really low. And that when you work with Elevate, you don't just have another marketing vendor. You have a marketing partner that is absolutely as invested in the mission and purpose that you have in your practice, because we're here to give, to love, to do, to serve out of a sense of abundance as well. And we want to help your community become healthier so that we can serve the greater mission to keep people off of drugs, avoiding surgeries, and living life at its fullest potential as possible through chiropractic care.
Love it. Couldn't have said that better. So thank you, man. Really appreciate you, Doc, for being here today. I know our audience really is going to appreciate this. So thank you so much. Remarkables, see you soon.
Hey doc, if this message is hitting you right between the eyes, it's exactly where we're aiming. This message is for you today. If you said, hey man, that's me, that's the thing I'm trying to solve, or that's the thing I'm trying to accomplish, and now is the time. If you're ready, let's jump onto a strategy session. You'll see the link down below. Schedule, we'll jump on a call with you, and let's discuss exactly how we can help you create your own remarkable practice.
Thanks for listening to this episode of the Remarkable CEO Podcast. If you like this podcast, please subscribe, share with a friend, and leave us a review. And if you'd like to connect with us personally, direct message us on Facebook, LinkedIn, or Instagram. Remember, what the world needs now is chiropractic, and what chiropractic needs now is more successful chiropractors.